Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Today I will be talking to you guys about why marijuana should be legal. I will explain the necessity of legalizing marijuana. There are a multitude of benefits to society as a whole if marijuana gets legalized across the United States. The public has all to benefit if we take accountability for the marijuana and make it safer to consume. The potency and consumption of marijuana is leading down a dangerous path. It is about time that we stop painting marijuana as the problem and start taking responsibility for its effects on our society. The public has all to benefit if we take accountability for marijuana and make it safer to consume. My talking points will be about how we can make marijuana safer to consume, how we could treat drug addiction as chronic disease other than a crime, and how we need to take the responsibility for the effects marijuana is having on our society. We all know a few people that have had negative experiences with drugs, whether it's family members or friends. We as a community have to strive to make our society a better place to live for not only ourselves, but to the people close to us. I found my information from the book, The Health Effects of Cannabis and Cannabinoids, the current state of evidence and recommendations for research. Also, drug decriminalization in Portugal, learning from a health and human-centered approach on drugpolicy.org, a study on the changes in cannabis potency over the last 2 decades, from 1995 through 2014, which is an article found on drugabuse.org, as well as what is the scope of marijuana use in the United States. Thornton's policy analysis number 157, alcohol prohibition, was a failure, and Public Law 89-92, Federal Cigarettes Labeling and Advertisement Act of 1965. First, if marijuana is legalized, we have the ability to make it safer to consume. In a policy analysis, number 157 by Mark Thornton, he stated how not only did producers and consumers switch to stronger alcoholic beverages from beer to whiskey, but producers supplied stronger forms of particular beverages such as fortified wine. The typical beer, wine, or whiskey contained a higher percentage of alcohol by volume during Prohibition than it did before or after. As we can see from the past, the potency rises when the United States has no control over it. The worst thing about it is that there is still a demand for it, in this case alcohol, even though it has been banned. In changes in cannabis potency over the last 2 decades, analysis of current data in the United States, it was noted that there was an increase in THC content in confiscated marijuana samples from 3% in 1980 to 12% in 2012. The health consequences of marijuana use may be worse now than in the past. THC is the ingredient that can cause psychosis, but CBD is what counteracts it. CBD is actually being tested as a treatment for psychosis and anxiety right now. If we can make marijuana legal, we can increase the amount of CBD and lower the amount of THC. Secondly, accept that drug and addiction stem from a difficult childhood, early trauma, low social status, depression, and even genetic factors, instead of blaming marijuana and labeling it as a gateway drug. There is a positive change when Portugal enacted drug criminalization in 2001. The number of people voluntarily entering treatment has increased significantly. Overdose deaths and HIV infections among people who use drugs have plummeted. Incarcerations for drug-related offenses has decreased, and rates of problematic and adolescent drug use has fallen. There are issues that plague our society, and we have to do something to help those in need. Portugal is an excellent example of how we can better our community as a whole here in the United States. In the book, The Health Effects of Cannabis and Cannabinoids, the current state of evidence and recommendations for research, Chapter 15, Challenges and Barriers in Conducting Cannabis Research, it states how there are several barriers to conducting basic, clinical, and population health research on cannabis and cannabinoids, including regulation and policies that restrict access to cannabis. Products that are used by an increasing number of consumers and patients in state-regulated markets, funding limitations, and numerous methodological challenges. If we make marijuana legal, that can open the floodgates to more funding for research on both health benefits and the danger it poses. The more we can understand how this substance affects our body, the more information we can push out to the general public. Thirdly, making it legal doesn't mean endorsing it. It means taking responsibility for the risk it poses. On the Federal Trade Commission website, there's a Federal Cigarette Labeling and Advertising Act, which was passed in 1965, that require manufacturers, packagers, and importers to place one of 4 statutorily prescribed health warnings statements on cigarette packages and in advertisements on a rotational basis as reviewed and approved by the Commission. If the United States can inform the public on the health hazards tobacco has on our society, they can do the same with marijuana. I understand many people may not even pay attention to the warning labels, but it is the government's duty to properly inform the public when substances can cause us harm. In an article, "What is the scope of marijuana use in the United States?" done by the National Institution on Drug Abuse, they shared how the Drug Use Warning Network, DAWN, a system monitoring the health impact of drugs, estimated that in 2011, there were nearly 456,000 drug-related emergency department visits in the United States in which marijuana was mentioned in the medical records, a 21% increase over 2009. The increase of marijuana-related ER visits can be due to the increase of THC in marijuana over the years. Legalization of marijuana could help lower these numbers for the betterment of the U.S. citizens. To conclude, drugs such as marijuana are not good, but we need to legalize it and regulate it in order to keep the public informed and protected. Before marijuana becomes legal, plenty of people have to change their point of view on it. It is my hope that I can paint marijuana in a different light for the betterment of society. I have explained how we can make marijuana safer to consume, how we can treat drug addiction as a chronic disease other than a crime, and how we need to take responsibility for the effects marijuana is having on our society. The public has all to benefit if we take accountability for marijuana and make it safer to consume. It is important that we become open to other ways of combating drug addiction. That will conclude my speech. Thank you for your time and have a great day.